The street felt quieter than I remembered. The kind of quiet where the world is holding its breath, waiting for something, anything, to break the stillness. The evening light was soft, golden, as though the sun itself was unsure whether it wanted to be here or not. I stood at the edge of the sidewalk, staring at the house ahead, feeling its pull, its weight, even from this distance. It was the same house. The one where I had raised her, where I'd learned to be a mother in the quiet moments and loud ones too. The paint on the shutters had faded, a little more than I remembered, but the steps were still there, the same creaky ones that groaned under the weight of our footsteps. The ivy had grown wild, just like it always did, curling around the porch railing like it knew its place, no questions asked. But even though it was the same, it was. The edges felt sharper now, more defined, like the house had been carved out of my past and left to weather without me. I couldn't tell if the smell of fresh grass and the faint scent of lavender still lingered in the air, or if it was just my memory clinging to the edges of my senses. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the yard. I stood there still, as if the earth itself had decided to stop turning for a moment. There was a sense of heaviness in my chest, like the weight of years pressed down on me all at once. I couldn't seem to move forward, or backward. The thought of knocking on the door felt like standing on the edge of a cliff, the wind in my face, but not knowing if the ground would hold me. I wanted to go inside. I wanted to see her again. I could almost hear her laugh, soft and low, like the rustling of leaves in the autumn wind. But then the fear crept in, the fear of time, of what had changed, of what I couldn't change. I shifted my weight from one foot to the other. The gravel crunched under my shoes, breaking the silence. It had been years. Years since I'd left, since I'd said goodbye with only a handful of words and the promise that I'd return. But I hadn't. There was a quiet hum in my ears, a pulse that matched the rhythm of my heart. I could almost feel her in the house, her presence lingering in the air like the last note of a song, just hanging there, waiting to be heard. I glanced at the window where her room had been. The curtains were drawn, but I could picture them in my mind, fluttering in the breeze she used to love. It felt like she might be there, just behind the glass, waiting for me to come in. But what if she was? I took a step forward. The ground felt unfamiliar beneath my feet, even though I had walked it 1,000 times before. The house had changed. Had I changed too? Could I even call this place home anymore? Would it still feel like home, or would it just be another place in the world that I had left behind? The golden light shifted as the sun dipped lower, leaving only the softest light behind. I stood there, at the edge of the street, staring at the house, unsure of the next step. A car passed, its tires humming softly on the pavement, but the sound didn't reach me. My thoughts were too loud, spinning, circling. Would she want me here? Would she even remember me the way I remembered her? There were so many questions I didn't have answers to. I could feel them pressing against me, pushing into my chest, until I thought I might suffocate under their weight. A breeze shifted through the trees, bringing with it the faintest scent of the roses she had once planted in the front yard. I hadn't even realized they were still there until the wind brought it back. It was just a smell, but it pulled something inside me, like a thread unraveling. I closed my eyes for a moment, letting it settle in me, letting it wash over me. I hadn't expected to feel this way. I hadn't expected the house to feel this familiar and yet so foreign at the same time. I should go in. But my feet wouldn't move. The earth beneath me felt like it was holding me in place. I could hear the faint sound of the wind in the trees, but everything else was so quiet. The kind of quiet that only comes when you're standing at the edge of something you're not sure you can cross. The sun was almost gone now, sinking low behind the horizon. There was just enough light to see the outlines of the house, but it was fading like everything else I had left behind. I took another step. My heart was racing now, thumping in my chest like it was trying to remind me that I was still here, still alive, still with the possibility of something more. But I wasn't sure what more was. My hand hovered over the doorbell. I could feel the warmth of the brass beneath my fingers, cool but inviting. It would be so easy to press it, to hear the sound of the doorbell ringing inside. But that sound felt too final, too heavy. I stepped back, and then I turned. I walked down the street, each step feeling heavier than the last. The house, the memory, it stayed behind me, like a weight on my back, like something I couldn't carry anymore. The street felt longer on the way back. I didn't look at the house again, but the echo of it stayed with me. The image of it, the image of her, it stayed in the silence that followed me all the way home. The air felt heavier now, thick with the silence that stretched between us. I stood by the window, my fingers resting lightly against the cold glass. The curtains were drawn, just like they always were, but I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching me. Not in the way you'd expect, not with eyes that could see, but in a quiet, unseen way, like the house itself was aware of my presence. The street outside was still. The world seemed to pause, holding its breath, waiting for something, anything, to break the stillness. My breath fogged up the window, and I wiped it away with the sleeve of my jacket. The glass was cool against my skin, grounding me, but the weight of the moment made it hard to stay in place. Inside, the house was silent. The kind of silence that carries weight, like it's holding something back. I knew she was there, Maggie. I could feel her in the walls, in the floorboards beneath my feet, even though I couldn't see her. I didn't need to. There was a rhythm in the way she moved, a pattern I couldn't quite place, but I could sense it through the stillness. It was familiar, but not quite right. It was like the house was moving with her, each step syncing with the creak of the floorboards, each shift in the air syncing with the soft flutter of the curtains. I couldn't explain it, but it felt off, like something had been left unsaid for too long. I thought I would be welcomed. I thought I would walk in and feel her arms around me, her warmth, her smile, but there was none of that. There was only this quiet distance between us, this invisible barrier that seemed to grow the longer I stood there. I wanted to knock on the door, but I didn't. I wanted to open it, step inside, and ask her how she was, but the words felt too heavy, too loud in my mouth. So I stood by the window, watching the shadows stretch long across the room, wondering how things had gotten so far. How had we become like this? How had the space between us grown so wide? The soft rustle of the curtains seemed louder now, as if it was the only sound left in the world. I pressed my forehead against the glass, trying to steady my thoughts, but they scattered, just out of reach. The house was so still, so silent, but it wasn't peaceful. It wasn't the quiet of home, of comfort. It was the kind of silence that you feel deep in your bones, like it's been waiting for something to break it open. Was this my fault? Had I done something to cause this distance? The questions echoed in my mind, spinning in circles. I had left, yes. I had walked away when it felt like everything was falling apart, when I couldn't find a way to fix it. But now, standing here, I wondered if it was all just my mistake. The house seemed to hold the answers, but it wasn't telling me anything. It wasn't giving me a sign, a gesture, or even a whisper of reassurance. It just stood there, solid and unchanging, as if it had become part of the past, and the past had no room for me anymore. I pressed my hand against the window, the cold glass grounding me again, and I tried to steady my breathing. The rhythm of the house of Maggie was still there, but it felt like it was out of reach. Like I was no longer part of it, no longer part of her world. The thought stung more than I expected. I thought maybe if I just waited, maybe if I just stood here long enough, something would change. That the silence would break, the door would open, and everything would fall back into place. But the door stayed closed. The house stayed quiet. Maggie stayed just beyond the curtain, just beyond the reach of my gaze. I waited for something to shift, but the world outside felt like it was turning away from me. And I couldn't find the courage to step inside, to face whatever was waiting in the stillness. I stayed there in the cold, in the silence, for longer than I realized. I stood there as the light began to fade, the shadows growing longer, stretching across the room until they covered everything. The rhythm inside the house didn't change. Maggie's movements, the soft creak of the floorboards, the rustle of the curtains, all of it stayed the same. And so did I, standing by the window, my hand pressed against the glass, watching the darkening sky. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I had missed my chance, that the distance between us had become something unbridgeable. And maybe, just maybe, it had been my fault all along. The door creaked open, the sound sharp against the silence that had stretched so long. I wasn't prepared for it, wasn't prepared for the way my chest tightened in a way that felt unfamiliar, yet painfully real. There she was. I froze. For a moment, time didn't exist. The world outside the house, the street, the fading light, all of it disappeared as I took in the figure standing in front of me. She was a woman now, grown, but there was still something in her that felt like the girl I once knew. Her face had changed, of course. The smooth skin I remembered was now touched with the quiet marks of time, the small signs of growing up. Her hair was different, pulled back into a neat bun, but it was the same soft shade of brown it had always been. Her eyes, though, they were the same. Wide, unsure, like they didn't quite know what to make of the world. She didn't look at me the way she used to. There was no recognition, no spark of the warmth that used to come so easily. Her smile was polite. It was a smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. It was a smile that belonged to someone else, not the person I had known. "Come in," she said, her voice soft, distant. The words felt hollow as they passed between us, like they were meant to fill the space but only made it wider. I stepped inside, but it felt like crossing an ocean. Every step I took seemed to stretch the distance further, pulling me away from the person I used to be to the stranger standing before me. The door closed behind me with a soft thud, and the house was still again, the silence wrapping itself around us, just like it had when I was standing outside. I followed her into the hallway, trying not to let my gaze linger too long on the familiar walls, the pictures that had once been full of life but now looked faded, as though they too had been waiting for something to change. She led me to the living room, her steps slow, measured. I could hear the rustle of her clothes, the soft shuffle of her feet on the hardwood floors, and the faint ticking of the clock on the wall, marking the passage of time. I sat down on the couch, feeling the weight of the years pressing down on me with every movement. It was like I had forgotten how to sit here, forgotten how to exist in this space. The air felt thick, like it was holding something back, but I couldn't tell what. There was a kind of stillness between us, a distance that I couldn't quite understand. How did we get here? How did she turn out like this, like a stranger with the same face? What happened while I was gone? I wanted to ask. I wanted to know everything, to pull it all out, to find the reasons for the distance between us, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, I sat there, watching her, feeling the weight of every second that had passed between us, each one settling heavily in the space that was now so impossibly wide. She shifted slightly, folding her hands in her lap, her eyes avoiding mine, looking instead at some distant spot in the room as though she was searching for something that wasn't there. Her posture was tense, like she was waiting for me to speak, but I couldn't find the words. "I didn't expect you to come back," she said quietly, her voice almost a whisper, like she was unsure of whether it was okay to even say it. "Not after all this time." The words stung, even though I knew they shouldn't have. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. What could I say? I couldn't explain myself. I couldn't say I was sorry, because that wouldn't be enough. I couldn't say I'd missed her, because the words would fall flat in the silence that stretched between us. She shifted again, this time her fingers twitching at her side, like she was caught between wanting to reach out and not knowing how. "I don't know if I'm still who you remember," she said, her voice barely above a breath. "Things change, people change." The words hit me like a wave. She was right. I could see it in her, the changes, the way she held herself now, the way her eyes didn't quite meet mine. But it wasn't just her. It was me too. I could feel it, the weight of the years between us, the way I had drifted away without realizing it, the way she had grown into someone I didn't recognize. I nodded, but it felt like a lie, like I was pretending to understand something I couldn't. The room was too quiet, the air too thick. I felt like I couldn't breathe, like the space between us was suffocating me, but I didn't know how to fix it. I reached for something, anything, to say, but all I could do was sit there, feeling the time slip away, feeling the distance between us stretch like an unspoken truth. I didn't know what had happened while I was gone. I didn't know what had changed her. But I could feel it now, in the way she looked at me, in the way we both hesitated, unsure of how to move forward. The silence stretched longer, heavier. It was the kind of silence that felt like a question without an answer. How had we become this? How had the space between us grown so wide? I didn't know, I didn't have the answer. But sitting there, in the living room of the house that had once been full of life, I felt the weight of everything we had lost. The scent of fresh bread fills the house, warm and comforting, but it doesn't feel like home. It's strange in a way that's hard to place. The kitchen hums with soft sounds, the slow scrape of a knife against cutting board, the quiet sizzle of something simmering on the stove, but it's not the rhythm I remember. It's different now, like a song I once knew, but now the notes are off. I stand in the doorway, watching her move around the kitchen. Maggie, but not Maggie. She's so familiar and yet so far away, her movements graceful but distant, like she's performing a part she's learned over time. She doesn't look at me, doesn't acknowledge the weight of the years between us, but I can feel it. The space, the silence between us, it fills the room like the scent of the bread, suffocating and sweet. Then the door opens, a man walks in. He's tall, with a relaxed smile that doesn't seem to fit in the room. He has the kind of confidence that feels almost foreign here, the way he moves like everything belongs to him. He looks at Maggie with such ease, such familiarity, like they've been sharing this kitchen for years. His hand brushes against her cheek in the most casual way, a soft kiss that lingers only for a moment before he pulls away and starts talking to her like they've always been in tune. I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't this quiet intimacy. This life I'm now watching unfold before me, a life I wasn't a part of. He looks at her like she's his, like he belongs here, and the way she smiles at him, it's not the smile I remember. It's warmer, softer, like she's finally found the peace I thought she was still searching for. I can feel the tension building between us. It's not loud or obvious, but it's there. It's in the way my hands are clenched at my sides, in the way my breath feels shallow. There's something so natural about them together, so right, but all I feel is a quiet pang of loss, a soft ache that seems to grow with every moment. I sit at the kitchen table, watching them, unsure of where I fit into this. They move around each other in a rhythm I don't understand. He slides into the chair across from her, his presence a part of this routine that's become their life. She hands him a plate, their fingers brushing for just a second, but it's enough to make me feel like an outsider in my own skin. The clock ticks softly on the wall, each second stretching longer than the last, pulling me deeper into the quiet distance between us. Maggie and her husband talk in low voices, the sound of their conversation too soft to follow. But it doesn't matter. I don't need to hear the words to understand. I can feel the years in the way they move together, in the ease of their gestures, in the way they share this space. I wonder how long it's been since I left. How many meals have they shared? How many moments have they had that I wasn't a part of? It feels like I've missed everything. Like I've been standing on the edge of their world, watching from a distance, never able to step inside. The bread, now warm and golden, is placed in front of me, but I don't feel the hunger I thought I would. Instead, there's only a hollow feeling, an emptiness in my chest that I can't explain. I should say something. I should ask about the years I've missed, about what happened when I wasn't here, but I can't bring myself to speak. Her husband looks at me, his smile polite but distant, like he's trying to figure out how I fit into this. He doesn't know me, doesn't know the history I share with Maggie, and I don't know him, not really, not in the way I should. It's strange, watching them, feeling like a ghost in their world. There's a distance between us that I don't know how to cross. It's not just the physical space, but the emotional one, the one that's grown over the years, stretching further and further until it feels impossible to reach across. What happened in these years I wasn't here to witness. What did I miss? What moments did I let slip away without even knowing? Maggie reaches across the table, her hand brushing mine as she places a glass of water in front of me. Her fingers linger just a moment longer than necessary, and I feel a quiet jolt of recognition. But even that feels different now. It's not the same touch it used to be. It's more careful, measured, like she's unsure of where we stand. I look at her, searching for something, some sign of the person I once knew, some flicker of the warmth we shared. But all I find is a woman I don't fully recognize, standing in a kitchen I don't belong in. The distance between us is a quiet wall, and I don't know how to break it. They talk again, their voices a low murmur, but I can't follow. I can't keep up with them. I don't know how they've built this life, how they've created this routine without me. And maybe I don't need to know. But the thought gnaws at me, just beneath the surface, the quiet ache of being left out of something I should have been a part of. I take a breath, trying to steady myself, trying to find my place in this world that has moved on without me. But it feels impossible, like trying to fit into a puzzle where the pieces no longer match. The bread is warm, the house is full of quiet conversation. And I'm sitting here, a stranger in a place that was once home. The living room is quiet now, the faint hum of their voices in the next room the only sound breaking the stillness. I sit alone on the worn couch, my hands resting lightly in my lap, my eyes fixed on the photo framed on the mantel. It's of Maggie, a child in the picture, smiling shyly as she holds a doll close to her chest. It's a version of her that I remember so clearly, a version that feels so distant now, even though it's only a few feet away from me, frozen in time on the mantelpiece. The air feels thick, heavy with the weight of years gone by. Every breath feels like it's holding something back, like there's a secret between me and the memories that linger in the walls of this house. I can almost hear the laughter of those earlier days, the sound of Maggie's voice echoing through the rooms, carefree and bright. But now, it's different. The laughter I hear from the other room doesn't carry that same lightness. It's softer, more reserved, as if the years have taught her how to keep herself just out of reach. The silence wraps around me like a shroud, heavy and suffocating, and I feel the full weight of it pressing down on me. The room is filled with ghosts, ghosts of the past, of moments that have slipped away while I was gone. I feel them in the air, in the old furniture, in the photographs that line the walls. I glance back at the photo, focusing on Maggie's face. She looks so young, so innocent. How could I have walked away from her then? How could I have let so much time pass without coming back to this place, to her? The house creaks softly, the walls sighing with age, and I can feel the years pressing against me, settling around me like dust. The laughter from the other room continues, muffled and distant, but it feels so far away now. I wonder if I'll ever hear that sound again, the way it used to be, the way it used to fill this house with life. I wonder if I've missed it all, if the person who laughed like that is someone I'll never meet again. Maggie laughs again, and this time I hear something else in it. It's not the innocent joy of childhood. It's something more complicated, something that I don't quite understand. The sound slips through the walls like a secret, and it stirs something in me, a feeling I can't quite place. Is it regret, longing, or something else entirely? Has she forgiven me? The question lingers in the air, unspoken, heavy with meaning. I don't have the answer. I can't even tell if she's waiting for me to ask, waiting for me to say something, to reach out, to make this right. But the years between us feel like a vast chasm, too wide to bridge with just a few words. What if she's changed in ways I don't recognize? What if she's holding onto something that I've long since let go of? I close my eyes for a moment, letting the quiet of the room settle over me. I can feel the weight of the past pressing on my shoulders, the memories and mistakes and moments that I've tried to bury deep inside me. But they never stay buried, do they? They always come back, and they always find a way to remind you of the things you wish you could forget. The sound of her laughter filters in from the other room again, and this time I don't close my eyes. I listen to it, trying to decipher it, trying to understand if there's any trace of the little girl in it. But it's harder now. The sound has changed. It's softer, more measured, like she's learned to laugh only when it's safe to do so, when there's no one left to hurt her. I open my eyes and look back at the photo. Her eyes in the picture are full of trust, full of love. She doesn't look like the person laughing in the next room, but I know she's still in there somewhere. I know she's still Maggie, even though so much has changed. But has she forgiven me? The silence stretches longer now, the weight of the question hanging between us. I hear their voices again, a murmur, a gentle exchange of words that I can't make out. Maggie's laugh follows shortly after, and it's so close now, just on the other side of the wall. But it's not the same. I wonder if I'll ever hear that laugh again, the way it used to be, before everything fell apart. I wonder if I'll ever be able to bridge the distance between us, to fix the cracks that have formed over the years. For now, all I have is the photo on the mantel, the memory of a little girl, and the silence that wraps around me like a shroud, heavy and full of things left unsaid. I sit at the table, watching them. Watching her. Maggie moves around the kitchen with a quiet efficiency, serving her husband with a practiced ease that feels too natural, too rehearsed. Every gesture, every movement is carefully calculated, like she's learned exactly how to be in this space, exactly how to please him. She offers him every kindness, pouring his drink, arranging the plate of food in front of him, but there's something in the way she does it that feels like obligation rather than love. A quiet duty, something she's grown accustomed to, something she's learned to offer without thought. My heart twists in my chest, an ache that sits there like a stone. I can't help but remember the nights we spent together, the way I used to hold her, the way we used to share everything, every thought, every feeling. I promised her once that I'd never leave. I promised her that we'd face everything together. But those promises, like so many things, have faded. I don't want to watch this. I don't want to see the distance between them, but it's there, undeniable. It's in the way she avoids his gaze, the way her movements are a little too swift, a little too careful. I want to reach across the table, to take her hand in mine like I used to pull her away from all of this. But I can't. The phone rings, a sharp sound that cuts through the quiet. Maggie's head jerks up, and for a moment I see something I can't quite place, flicker across her face. She turns toward the phone, her movements suddenly quicker, more purposeful. She answers it with the same polite, distant tone she's used all evening, her voice steady but tight, like she's holding something back. I shouldn't listen. I know I shouldn't, but I can't help it. Her words come through the walls, soft at first, but I catch them, and I can hear the strain in her voice. She's speaking carefully, like she's choosing each word with precision. There's a tension in the way she talks, something controlled, like she's trying to keep something from slipping out. I'm fine, she says, her voice almost too calm. Everything's fine. I hear the hesitation, the brief pause before the words come out, and it makes my stomach tighten. She's not fine. I can hear it in her voice. I can hear the cracks, the thin thread of something else hiding behind the words. I hear him, the voice on the other end, but I can't make out what he says. All I hear is her response, her words clipped and measured, the way someone answers when they don't want to give anything away. I'm doing what I can, she says. I'm trying to keep things together. I can feel the weight of her words, the unspoken truth that hangs heavy between them. She's not just keeping things together for him. She's keeping them together for herself too. She's trying to hold on to something, trying to make sense of a life that's been stitched together with silence and distance. Who is she really? What has she become without me? The question lingers in the air, unanswered. I don't know the woman standing in that kitchen, answering the phone with a voice that doesn't sound like hers. I don't know who she's become, but I can feel the space between us, the years, the broken promises. She's built a life here, a life without me, and I don't know how to fit into it. She finishes the call, her voice softening just a little as she says goodbye. The tension in the room doesn't dissipate. If anything, it grows. She stands by the phone for a moment, the receiver still in her hand, her eyes distant, like she's lost in a thought that doesn't belong to this room, to this life. I want to reach out to her. I want to step forward and ask her who that was, ask her what she's been hiding, what she's been holding back all these years. But I don't. I stay still, my heart beating too fast, my hands clenched in my lap. She hangs up the phone and sets it down, but the silence that follows feels heavier than the conversation itself. She doesn't look at me, doesn't acknowledge the space between us, but I can feel it, can feel the weight of everything unsaid pressing down on both of us. She turns back to the table, but she doesn't sit. She stands there, hovering like she's unsure of what comes next. There's something in her eyes, something fragile and tired, like she's been carrying a weight for so long that she doesn't know how to let go of it anymore. I want to say something, anything to break this silence, but the words stick in my throat. How do you tell someone that you see them, that you see all the pieces they've tried to hide, all the cracks in their perfect little life? How do you ask someone what happened to them when you weren't there to hold them up? But I don't ask, I don't say anything. I watch her, standing at the edge of the room, her hands wringing together in front of her. And in that moment, I realize that the woman in the kitchen, the woman who answered the phone, the woman who serves her husband with quiet kindness, it's not the Maggie I once knew. It's someone else entirely. And I don't know how to reach her. The moments when Maggie steps away are the quietest ones. They're the moments when her husband's presence feels most pronounced. He doesn't speak much, but when he does, it's always polite. Always measured, like he's carefully choosing each word before it leaves his mouth. We sit across from each other in the living room, the soft hum of the house filling the spaces between us. Maggie's footsteps fade into the background as she moves through the house, leaving him and me in this strange, fragile silence. His eyes are calm, but there's something behind them, something I can't quite place. A flicker of something, not warmth, not animosity, just something. His voice breaks the silence, a low murmur that fills the room without trying. He asks about my travels, about what brought me back to this town. His tone is polite, even friendly, but there's a distance in his words that mirrors the distance I feel between myself and this house, between myself and them. "You've been away for quite a while," he says, his gaze steady, like he's sizing up a puzzle he doesn't quite understand. "I imagine a lot has changed." I nod, unsure of how to respond. The words feel too heavy, too loaded for something so simple. I want to ask him more about his life, about his years with Maggie, but I can't bring myself to. The questions sit in my chest, tight and suffocating, and I can't find a way to let them out. He leans back in his chair, his fingers tapping lightly against the edge of his coffee cup, and for a moment, I see him in a different light. Not just the polite, distant man who married Maggie, but someone else entirely. Someone who has lived a life I wasn't a part of, someone who has shaped the woman I once knew into someone I don't recognize. I can't stop myself from asking, even though I don't know how to phrase it. "How did you two meet?" He looks at me then, and for a split second, there's a flicker of something in his eyes. It's gone so quickly that I almost wonder if I imagined it, but it feels real enough to make me pause. "We met a long time ago," he says, the words light, like he's giving me a piece of a story he doesn't want to finish. "You know how these things happen. Time passes, people change, and then you find yourself with someone you never expected." It's a vague answer, but it's enough. It's all I'll get from him, I know that much. But the question lingers in my mind, the question that has no answer. What kind of man has he become to her? How did he fill the space I left behind? He continues talking, telling me about their life together, the little details of their routine that seem so mundane, so ordinary, yet they carry the weight of something much heavier. As he speaks, I try to picture them, the two of them together, sharing those quiet moments that I'll never be a part of. I try to imagine the life they've built, the years they've spent weaving their stories into something that feels real to them. But the more I listen, the more I realize that the story he tells isn't the one I remember. It's not the story I was a part of. And I wonder if I ever really was. His voice is calm, almost detached, but there's an edge to it now. He talks about Maggie in a way that feels possessive, as though he's claiming her, as though she's his and always has been. He doesn't say it outright, but it's there in the way he speaks, in the way he looks at her when she re-enters the room. It's like there's a line between them now, a line I'm not supposed to cross, a boundary I've already crossed without realizing it. Maggie comes back into the room then, her footsteps soft, her presence more solid now, more grounded. She smiles at both of us, but the smile doesn't quite reach her eyes, not the way it used to. She looks at her husband, and there's something in the way she does it that makes me feel like I'm intruding, like I'm a ghost in their house, hovering on the edges of their world. I stand up, feeling the weight of the moment settle on my shoulders. The questions I've been carrying around, the thousand things I want to know, things that have no answers, feel too heavy now. I can't ask him anymore. I can't ask her. The space between us feels too wide, too vast to bridge with words. "I think I'll head out for a bit," I say, the words slipping out before I can stop them. "Just need some air." Her husband looks up at me, his expression polite but distant. "Of course," he says, standing up as well, his movements smooth, controlled. "I'll show you out." I nod, but I don't follow him immediately. I glance over at Maggie, who is watching us, her expression unreadable. She doesn't say anything, but the silence between us is louder than any words could be. As I walk toward the door, I feel the weight of 1,000 unasked questions sitting between us. What have I missed in these years? Who are they now? And more than anything, why does it feel like I'm a stranger in a place I once called home? Her husband opens the door for me, and as I step outside, the cool air hits my face, but it doesn't feel like relief. It feels like another wall between us, one that I can't break down. I step into the night, and the door closes quietly behind me, leaving me standing in the dark, a stranger in a world I thought I knew. The room is quiet when I finally sit down with Maggie. The soft hum of the house seems to grow louder, filling the space between us with its weight, making the silence feel even heavier. I'm not sure how to start, but I know this conversation has to happen. It has to, or else I'll never understand. She sits across from me, her eyes downcast at the floor, her hands folded tightly in her lap. There's a tremor in the way she holds herself, like she's bracing for something that hasn't been said yet, something that's been sitting between us for all these years. I open my mouth, but the words don't come right away. I've rehearsed this moment in my head 1,000 times, but now that it's here, I don't know how to ask. How do you ask someone about the years they spent without you? How do you ask them about the life they built without your presence, without the promises you made? Maggie, I finally say, my voice quiet, unsure. Tell me about the years I missed. Tell me what it was like for you. Her eyes flicker up to meet mine, but she doesn't say anything at first. Her lips press together, like she's deciding whether or not to answer. The pause between us stretches long, and I can feel her hesitation, the weight of what she's about to say. She sighs, a sound so soft it almost gets lost in the room. Loneliness, she says, her voice barely a whisper. It was loneliness mostly. She looks down again, like the words are hard to say, like they carry more weight than she's ready to bear. The silence settles in again, but it's different this time. It's not just the absence of sound, it's the presence of something unspoken, something that's been buried deep for too long. I didn't understand why you left, she continues, her voice shaky now, her eyes still focused on her hands. I didn't understand why you promised me you'd always be there, and then you were. I don't think I ever really understood that. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. I want to reach out to her, to tell her how sorry I am, to tell her that I never meant to hurt her, that I never meant for any of this to happen. But the words are stuck. They can't seem to get past the lump in my throat. I never wanted to feel abandoned, she says, and there's a quiet pain in her voice that makes my chest tight. But I grew up believing that's what I was, abandoned. She finally looks up at me, her eyes searching mine, but they're not filled with anger. They're filled with something softer, something sadder. I had to learn to take care of myself. I had to learn how to survive without you. Each word she says feels like a weight on my chest, and I can't breathe, can't think. I want to apologize, but I don't know how. I don't know what to say to make it right, to undo the years that have passed between us. She doesn't blame me, not outright, but I can feel it in the air, in the way she speaks, in the space between us. She's not angry, she's not resentful, but I can feel the absence of something. The emptiness that she had to carry for so long, the emptiness I left behind. I don't blame you, she says after a long pause, her voice so quiet now, almost lost in the weight of the room. Not exactly, but I still don't understand why you left. I sit there, my hands clenched together in my lap, trying to find the words that could fix all of this. But there are no words that can make up for the years I missed. There's nothing I can say to undo the hurt, to undo the abandonment she felt, even if I never meant for it to happen. I think about those nights, the promises I made to her, the way I swore I would never leave. How could I have been so sure, so certain that I would always be there, and then walk away? How could I have left her to face all of this alone? The question lingers in the air, unanswered. What should I have done? What could I have done differently? The silence between us stretches long, thick with all the things we haven't said, all the things we can't say. I tried, Maggie says suddenly, her voice thick with emotion. I tried to forget. I tried to move on, to pretend I didn't care, that it didn't matter. But it always did. It always mattered. The weight of her words presses down on me, and I feel it in my chest, in the pit of my stomach, like something is breaking open inside of me. I don't know how to fix this. I don't know how to make it right. She doesn't look at me now. She's staring down at her hands again, her fingers twisting in a restless motion. I just wanted to know why, she says, her voice barely audible now. Why you left, why I wasn't enough for you to stay. The words cut deep, deeper than anything else she said. Because I know she's right, I don't have an answer, not a real one. There's no excuse for the time I lost, for the promises I didn't keep, for the way I walked away. The room feels colder now, the air heavier, filled with the weight of everything we've said and everything we haven't. I'm sorry, I whisper, the words feeling small, inadequate, but they're all I have. Maggie doesn't say anything in response. She just nods, her eyes still lowered, the quiet stretching between us. And for the first time, I realize how far we've drifted, how much time has passed, how much has been lost. What should I have done? The question hangs in the air, unanswered. And maybe it always will be. The house is quiet, too quiet, and I can't seem to sleep. I lie in bed for what feels like hours, tossing and turning, my mind racing with all the things we've said, all the things we haven't said. The silence is suffocating, pressing in on me from all sides, and I can't escape it. Maggie and her husband are asleep. the faint sound of their breathing drifting through the walls, but I can't shake the feeling that the house is awake, too, alive with something that's just beneath the surface. Unspoken truths, things I should have said, things I can't seem to take back. I get up quietly, trying not to wake them. The floorboards creak under my weight, the house seeming to groan with every step I take. I move through the darkened hallway, my fingers brushing lightly against the walls, touching the things that used to be mine. The pictures, the familiar creases in the wallpaper, the worn-down floorboards. They're still here, still in the same places I remember, but they don't feel the same. The house feels different now. The walls, the air, the very space I'm moving through. It's all unfamiliar, like it's no longer mine. I step into the living room, the soft glow of the moon casting faint shadows through the window. The room feels colder than I remember, the silence deeper. The furniture is the same, but everything is off, out of place somehow. I move toward the mantel, my eyes falling on the photos that line it. There's one of me, from years ago, standing beside Maggie with a smile that feels like someone else. Someone I don't recognize anymore. I reach out, my fingers brushing the frame, and for a moment, I stand there, staring at the picture, feeling the weight of time press in on me. The life we shared, the promises I made, it all feels like it happened to someone else, like it's someone else's memory now. The air in the room feels thick, heavy, and I can't breathe, can't think. I'm lost in the quiet, in the weight of everything I've left behind. What did I think I'd find here? I can't answer the question, not really. I came back hopping for something, hoping that maybe things would be different, that maybe I could somehow make up for the years I wasn't here. But now that I'm here, I realize that there's no making up for what I did. There's no way to fix it. I turn away from the mantel, my gaze falling on the couch where we used to sit together, the place where I used to feel like I belonged. But now, it feels like a stranger's space, like someone else's life. I can almost hear the echoes of our laughter, the soft murmur of conversation, but it's gone now. The silence in the house is louder than any memory, louder than any of the moments we shared. I move toward the kitchen, the cold tile floor beneath my feet sending a chill up my spine. I open the cupboard, running my fingers along the edges of the plates, the glasses, the mugs that used to be mine. But now they feel foreign in my hands, like they belong to someone else. Everything here has changed, even if it hasn't. Even if the things are the same, the house feels different. The world feels different. I pause in the doorway, looking out into the darkened yard, the shadows of the trees stretching across the grass. The night is still, but I can feel the weight of the past pressing in on me. What was I expecting when I came back here? What did I think I'd find? I wanted to make things right, to fix the things I broke, but now I see that I can't. There's no going back. There's no undoing the years I wasn't here, no way to fill the space I left behind. The house feels alive with the memories of what was, and it's too much to bear. I can't escape it. It's everywhere I look, in every corner, in every creak of the floorboards, in every shadow that passes through the rooms. My past lingers here, a presence I can't shake. I stand there for what feels like hours, caught between the man I used to be and the stranger I've become. And I don't know how to move forward. I don't know how to make peace with what I've done, with what I've missed. The silence stretches around me, wrapping itself around my chest like a shroud, and I feel more lost than ever. The morning air is crisp, biting just enough to make me pull my jacket tighter around my shoulders. The sky is clouded, a soft gray blanket stretching across the horizon, but there's a stillness in the air, a quiet that feels like the world is holding its breath. Maggie and I sit on the porch, the same porch we used to share, back when everything felt simpler, when we used to talk about our dreams and the future without knowing how fragile those moments really were. The old wooden boards creak beneath us, familiar but distant, like everything else in this house. She sits beside me, her hands resting on her knees, her eyes forward, but not really seeing anything. It's like she's looking past the house, past the street, like her mind is somewhere far away. But then she shifts slightly, and for the first time since I've come back, she looks at me, really looks at me. Her eyes are soft now, no longer filled with the sharpness of anger or hurt. It's a gentleness that I wasn't expecting, something I wasn't sure I'd ever see again. But it's there, and it's so much more than I thought I could hope for. I want to say something, to ask her everything that's been building up inside me since I walked back through that door. I want to know about the years I missed, about the life she's built without me, about the hurt and the loneliness she's carried. But the words feel too big, too heavy, and I don't know where to start. So we sit there in silence, the world moving around us in slow, deliberate steps. The clouds roll across the sky, the wind shifts, and somewhere in the distance, a dog barks. But for a moment, everything feels suspended, like this moment is the only thing that matters. Finally, she speaks. Her voice is soft, but it carries the weight of everything between us, everything unsaid. I've thought about forgiveness a lot, she says, her gaze never leaving the horizon. Not just for you, but for myself too, because holding onto the hurt, it was never going to bring you back. It only kept me stuck. Her words hang in the air, settling between us like the fog rolling across the yard. I don't know how to respond. Part of me wants to say that I'm sorry, that I wish I could have been here, that I wish I could take back everything I missed. But the truth is, I can't. And maybe she knows that too. I tried to build a life without you, she continues, her voice barely above a whisper now. A life I could live with, a life I could be proud of. I didn't want to just wait for something that was never going to happen. I didn't want to be stuck in the past. I hear the pain in her voice, but it's muted now, worn down by time, by everything she's had to carry alone. I can feel it, though, the weight of those years, the things she never got to say, the pieces of her life she had to piece together without me. But it wasn't easy, she adds, finally looking at me. Her eyes are clear now, but there's something in them, a quiet sadness that I can't fully understand. I wanted to hate you. I did for a long time, but hating you, it wasn't enough. It didn't fix anything. And eventually, I realized that I couldn't keep living in that place. I don't know what to say to that. I don't know how to respond to her forgiveness, to the weight of her words, to the life she's tried to create without me. I'm not asking you to fix it, she says, as if reading my thoughts. I don't need you to fix it. I just needed to move forward, and I've tried. I've done my best. The silence falls between us again, but this time, it's not heavy. It's not suffocating. It's the kind of silence that comes with understanding, with acceptance. But is it enough? I don't know. I don't know if anything can ever be enough to make up for the time I lost, for the hurt I caused. I don't know if I'll ever have the answers to the questions I've been carrying around all these years. Maggie leans back in her chair, her eyes still on the sky, but I can see the subtle shift in her posture, the way she seems to release something. A small sigh escapes her lips, and it's the first time in days that I feel like maybe, just maybe, we're not so far apart anymore. I don't know what's next, she says quietly, her voice still soft but firm now. I don't know where we go from here, but I don't hate you, Hadid, and I don't think I ever really did. It just wasn't enough to keep me waiting. I nod, the weight of her words settling inside me like something heavy but necessary. It's not a promise of reconciliation, not a guarantee of anything. It's just the truth, the rawness of what we've both been carrying. I don't know what's next either, I say, my voice barely more than a whisper. But I'm here, for whatever that's worth. We sit there in silence for a while longer, the world still spinning around us, the air growing colder as the day moves on. I want to ask her more, to know everything, but I don't. Maybe it's enough just to be here, just to be present in this moment. Maybe that's where we start. Maybe it's enough. The door closes behind me with a soft thud, but it doesn't feel like the final sound I expected. I thought it would be heavier, that the weight of it would crush me, sealing me out of her world forever. But instead, it's just a sound. Quiet, almost gentle. And for the first time since I arrived, I feel the tiniest shift, a sense of something lifting off my chest just a little. It's not much, but it's something. I stand there on the front steps, the cool air brushing against my skin, and for a moment I don't move. The world around me is still, the street empty, the trees swaying gently in the breeze. It feels like the whole world is waiting, holding its breath. I can hear the soft rustling of leaves, the distant hum of traffic, but it all feels so far away, like it doesn't belong to me anymore. Maggie has her life now, her home, her family. She's built something without me, and in some ways it's more than I could have ever imagined. She's strong. She's not the girl I left behind. She's someone new, someone who has learned to live without the promises I made. She's someone who found her way, even in the absence of me. I can't undo the past, the years I lost, the mistakes I made, the silence that settled between us. But maybe, just maybe, there's room for something new now, something less about what I've lost and more about what she's gained. I take a deep breath, letting the cool air fill my lungs. It feels different, this breath. It feels like it could mean something, like it's the first breath I've taken without the weight of everything hanging over me. I've been holding on to so much for so long: guilt, regret, the need to fix what can't be fixed. But standing here now, I wonder if it's time to let go of all of that. What now? The question lingers in the air, unanswered. I want to ask it, want to know if there's still a place for me in her life, if I can be a part of it again. But it feels too soon, too uncertain. I've spent so long being afraid of this moment, afraid of what it would feel like to leave, afraid of what it would mean for us, for me. But now that I'm here, on the other side of it, it doesn't feel as final as I thought it would. I wonder if it's too late. Too late to be a part of her world again, to find a way back into the life we once shared. But maybe that's not the question I should be asking. Maybe the real question is what happens next. What happens now that I've finally let go of the past, now that I've stopped trying to fix everything and started thinking about what could still be possible. I don't know the answer. I don't know what comes next. But for the first time, I feel like I can finally breathe, like I don't have to carry all of it anymore. The past is still there, in the corners of my mind, in the places I can't quite forget. But maybe, just maybe, it's not about what I lost anymore. Maybe it's about finding something new. I turn away from the door, my steps slow as I walk down the front steps. The world feels different now, quieter, more open. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know what will happen next. But for the first time in a long time, I feel like I can finally move forward. What now? Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe the only thing that matters is that I'm moving. And that, for the first time in years, I'm letting go.